Record to disk complete. Fine. So we were on the Azure portal. So this is the Azure portal. Okay. Now where were we? We covered the basics. We are now covering the disk. Now in disk, the minimum C drive, it should be 127 GB. This is minimum. Why? Because operating system, it takes uh, much space. Okay. And also there are some Azure services that is consuming, that there are some agents that we will discuss. Okay. Then we have a disk type. So we have a standard HDD hard drive. Then we have SSD, solid state drive. Then we have premium SSD. Now, if you go for premium SSD, so there are two things. One is local and one is zone. So locally means it is there in just a single data center, whatever the region that we have selected, no, over here, West Europe. So in West Europe, wherever the data center is located in the single data center, we have that locally. But if you go with all the zones in the data center, that means that is zone redundant. That means it is going to replicate in three different data centers. Replication, that means three new disks. That is going to charge you a lot. So for now, we will keep it as a standard HDD. So here it is written SSD standard SSD. SSD is for web server, light enterprise application dev and test. And HDD is for best for backup, non-critical and infrequent access. So we will keep standard HDD. Okay. Then we have this delete with VM. Now what happens is this is an OS disk. OS disk means you can use this disk and you can create another VM. So here delete with VM means if you just select this, so once you click accidentally, if you delete the VM, so that disk will get deleted. So just to be on a safer side, normally we uncheck this delete with VM. We don't delete with VM. But as just for a training, we will keep as delete with VM. Then we have a key management. What do you mean by keys? Keys means whenever there are keys, that means there is a lock. What do you mean by lock? Lock is an encryption and decryption. So the data is encrypted and the data is decrypted. Now there are two types of encryption. Okay. One is data in transit, when the data is moving. At that time, we encrypt something. Okay. One is data at rest. Data is resting somewhere. It is not moving. So that encryption is different. So right now we will talk about server side encryption because we are creating a VM. That means we are creating a server. So this is a server side encryption. Now there are two type of keys: platform managed key and customer managed key. Platform managed key is managed by Azure. Customer managed key means you are not confident in Azure's encryption. You tell no, I don't want Azure to encrypt on my behalf. I am going to create the keys and I am going to encrypt the server. So that is known as a customer managed key. We will talk about the encryption later on. Okay. After this topic, no, we have the encryption topic. So we have couple of practicals wherein we are going to do how the encryption works. Fair enough, guys? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, yes, Hussein bhai.
Okay. Yeah.
Got it.
Please acknowledge. Okay. Please acknowledge. Okay. Now after encryption, yes. Okay. After encryption, we have this data disk. Now there are two type of disk. One which is operating system disk, which is by default, because without that, virtual machine cannot be created. Okay. Then we have a new disk, a data disk. What is mean by a data disk? A data disk means if you want the additional disk like D drive, E drive. So this is known as a data disk. Like you are creating a new disk. Okay. So right now we are not going to create a new disk because we have a different chapter wherein we are going to create a new disk. We are going to attach that disk to a different VM. Okay. So then after disk, we have this section which is networking section. See, there are one more tab, advanced. What do you mean by advanced? Use unmanaged disk. So this is now unchecked. Why? Because we have not created the disk. That that's why the this one is unchecked. Now I am going to go to networking. Now Arshad bhai, this is very interesting for you.
Yes, bhai. Yes.
So networking also, Jalish, what
Yes,
is
yes.
a networking in Azure? It is an isolated network. Let's say for an example, you know what is intranet and what is internet. Internet
Mm-hmm.
is public and intranet is private. Private means
Right.
be it your home, be it your office, be it your organization, be it anything. So that means which is a private network. So Azure, they have given many private network. Okay. Virtual network service is a isolated network given to you by Azure. Isolated means what? It means private. That means you are isolated. Okay. No one is going to see what you are doing. Okay. So that is something which is private or isolated within your subscription. Okay. Within your subscription, within your region. Now, virtual network. Now, this is going to get created by default. You see new, or if you don't like this name, you can create a new name. So let's say I want a virtual network. Before virtual network, let us talk about virtual network service. I'm going to create one duplicate. Okay, let me keep it as it is. Let me go with VNet, virtual network. See virtual network. Okay. Now this is in virtual network, there are many services. What all services we have? We have virtual networks, we have NAT gateways, public IP address, network interface. Okay. What do you mean by network interface? It is a NIC, NIC. What is a NIC? Is a LAN card of your computer or of your laptop,
Right.
w- wherein that RJ45 port is there. Okay.
Yes.
NATing. NATing is very interesting. We are going to discuss about NATing, why NATing is required. So right now we will talk about the public address. Okay. Now there are two type of IP address. Version V4 and version V6. Okay. Version V4 and version V6. Now I will tell you. Else. This is a part of actually a networking AZ700, but I'm just giving you an overview. Guys, we are also
Okay.
going to cover AZ700. So what are we going to cover? I think I have set up clear expectation, but Jalis and Deepak, you guys were not there. Okay, so
Yes, yes.
right now our target is to cover three certifications. One is AZ4104, which is AZ Azure Administrator. Okay, then we have AZ 700, which means Azure Networking. So in
Okay.
AZ400, there is a small part of networking, but I was thinking that we will cover the entire networking. Okay, so that means we are not dependent. So that means we are good with two certification, and we also have one more certification which is SC300. Okay, security 300, security certification, which means it is identity and access management. We will talk about the IDs, we will talk about the user, we will talk about group, we will talk about policy, permission, licenses, many things. There is a smaller part in AZ104, but I was thinking to cover the entire thing. So that is AZ104, AZ700, and SC300. Now, this is what generally 70 to 80%, which is outside your virtual machine, outside the services. Now, we from server administration perspective, okay, we also require the hands-on AZ. We also require the hands-on which is inside the server. Okay, on operating system layer. So we are going to cover, if we get time, we will cover AZ800 and AZ801, AZ800, AZ801. So our basic target is to cover these five certifications. Okay. Because money wise, when we talk about initially in initial days, what used to happen is for networking there were different people. Okay. So there was a different package for networking. Okay. For storage, we have a different people. So let's say if you are a company and if you are not on cloud, if you are on premises, for storage you are paying somewhere around. I'm just giving you a basic example. Okay, 12 to 15 lakh LPA for a storage administrator. Then you pay 12 to 15 lakh LPA for server administrator. It might be more, okay, or it might be less, but I'm giving you a baseline. Then you are paying 12 to 15 lakh, uh, one for server, one for storage, one for network administrator. Okay. Then you pay some amount who is maintaining the data center, who is cleaning, you know, um, those services, hospitality services. Okay. Cleaning, mopping. Then you require air condition. Okay. Then you have a security guard. So these were the capital expenditure. These were the dependencies, okay, to construct the own data center. Now in Azure, why Azure engineers are getting highly paid? The reason is because they are doing five people job at a single time. They are looking after storage. They are also looking after monitoring. They are also looking after server. They are looking after security as well, patching, okay, vulnerability. So that is the complete package. So that's why in the market, Azure administrator are getting highly paid because you cover most of the things. All right. So IP address, when we talk about IP address, okay, understand I'm just giving you a small calculation over here. You might have seen some IP address 192.168.1.1, something like that. You might have seen, right?
Yes.
Okay. But I'm not going into details, but details are confusing. Okay. I'm going to give you a very small explanation. So there are two types of IP address version. One is IPv4, IP version 4, and one is IP version
6.
6. Okay. Okay. So one is IPv4, V4, and other one is IP version 6. Now what used to happen? You might have checked this 192.168.1.1, something like that, or 100, something like that. You might have seen. Now this is 6 digit, okay, but this is alphanumeric. Okay. Now the data, how it is calculated? It is calculated in kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, right?
Yes. Correct.
Correct. Now uh, you might have you might have seen GB, okay. You might have seen TB. Then you might have seen MB. Initial days, no, initial days, uh, where when the computer started. Okay, so they started with bits and bytes. Now also bits and bytes are being used. Okay, because that is the lower level of data measurement. Okay, in bits and bytes. So 8 bits is equal to 1 byte. So now no, in this one, byte 8 means what? 8 means octet. Correct? Arshad bhai,
Yes, bhai.
Jalees bhai. 8
Yes,
means
yes.
octet,
Yes, bhai.
right?
Yes.
Am I correct? The number 8 itself, it denotes what? It is an octet. Okay. Now 8 bits is an octet. Sorry, 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. It is an octet. So there are 4 octets in the IPv4. And there are six this thing in the IPv6. Now this thing, no, 4 octets. I'll not talk about IPv6, but I'll just give you an example. Now in one octet, no, in one octet, sorry, this you see 192. So maximum limit is 255 in one octet. Maximum limit. Octet. 0 to 255. That means what is the number? If we count 0, so that means total digit is what? 256. Correct? Getting me, guys?
Yes, sir.
0 to 255. That means 1 to 255 is what? 255. But here it is 0 to 255. That means 0 is also counted. So what would be the total count? 256, including 0. Excluding 0, it is 255. Okay. Now, how many in one octet it is 255. So in in 4 octets, how much it is? 256, 256, 256 into 256. I'm giving you a simple calculation. All right. So any approximate idea how many people are there in the world? No idea, right? There might be billions and billions. Let's say there are trillion people in the world. Okay. How many? See, this IP address was 4 octet. So 255, 256 multiply by 256 multiply by 256 multiply by 256. That means total count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 billion, 294 million. Sorry, am I wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Means 429 crore 49 lakh 67,296 devices. But do you think this 429 crores in the world there are so many devices, right? So 429 crores will be exhausted. So what they have come up? They have come up with the public IP and private IP. So some IPs they will just give for public. Okay. And after exhaustion, they thought that they are going to go with IPv6 because in IPv6 there are many numbers of IPs that we get. Because nowadays you might have heard about IoT. Your AC is also being controlled over the internet. Your TV is also being controlled over the internet. Okay. Your washing machine you can start and you can switch off. These are IoT, Internet of Things. So they also require an IP address for the communication. So number of IPs they are exhausting. That's the reason they have come up with the IPv6, IP version 6. But still, most of the people know we use IPv4 only, most of them, because we don't entire IP address is not allocated to public. Okay, so we have public and we have private. So now we will check how many IPs address are public. Okay, list of private IP address, private IP. Okay, so these are the private IP. So there are classes in the private IP address. Okay, so we are going to cover this in networking chapter in detail. But these are the IP address. So whatever from 10.255.255.255. So these are the free range of the IP address.
Question by IVP4 means for private or
What?
IV, I, IPv6 for public.
No, IPv6 and IPv4 they are jointly combined. They are private, and
Okay.
first you don't have to look after public and private. First calculation is why there is an IPv6. Why not only IPv4? I
Okay.
gave you the reason. Okay. You see, in one octet there are 256. So 256, 256, 256, 256. If I multiply all four of them, so the answer that I am getting is for
Okay.
429 crore. Now, do you think 429 crore is sufficient? There are so many devices, there
No.
are so many people. Okay, there are so many mobile. So 429 is not sufficient. Okay.
Not sufficient. Okay.
So they have come up, the IPs will get exhausted. So they have come up with the IP version 6, wherein
Okay.
they add two more octets. So instead of four, now it will have a 6 octet. And that is alphanumeric. So that is the beauty.
Okay.
Okay. Now
Got
this
it.
one is just numeric. IPv6 is an alphanumeric. So
Okay.
there is a calculation joint combination, I would say. Okay. But that we are going to cover in details in the networking, AZ700. Okay, this is just an overview. Now, later
Okay.
on, IPv4 we can segregate as the public and as the private. Okay. So private IP address is what you can utilize. Okay. You can utilize anywhere. This is something which is private to you. I have got two companies. One is Akib company and one is Arshad Bhai company. Okay. Arshad Bhai, you
Okay.
can use your private IP address as in 192.168.1.1. Let's say if you have office in Kondwa, you can use that IP address because that is something private to you. If you have Deepak Bhai, if you have office in Kharadi, you can still use that IP address because that is something which is private within your organization. You are not exposing your IP address to the internet. If you expose your IP address to the internet, this is where the NAT comes in, network address translation. Okay, that we are going to discuss in details. Okay, so there are, see, these are, remember that these are no, these are the IP addresses. I'm giving you this. Okay, these are the IP addresses. Okay, but I want Akib or Arshad Bhai, okay, to put it in some kind of documentation or Excel sheet. Okay.
Yes, bhai.
See, I can do that. I can do that. Okay. But I want you to practice because if you do it, no, at least you will have some understanding and you will remember that you have done this thing, this task. Okay. Where was I? IP address. So this is the class A. Class A starts with 10.0.0.0. Okay. Remember, from 0 you have a 255. So that means let's not take 0, let's take 255 only. Okay. So that means 255 multiply by 255 multiply by 255. So that means how much? 1 crore 65 lakh 81,375 IP you will get if you select this IP address. Now, why I have calculated 3 times 255? Because the first octet is not 0. It is telling after 10, 0.0.0. That means you can use this. Then what is this? So 170, 172.68.0.0. Okay. So from 172.68 till 31. So 16 minus 31 is how much? So 31 minus 16 is 15. So our calculation would be now 15 and then we have two zeros. You getting me? This is the range from 0 to 255.
Okay.
So this is the range. So how many IPs we will get? So this is the range 72.16 and 72.31. This is the private. So 15 multiplied by 255 and 255. So that means 15 multiplied by 255 multiplied by 255. So that means you have 9,75,350. So sorry, 375 IPs. Okay. Now the last one, 192.168.0.0. When you will use this IP? So uh, when you will use this IP? What is the range? 192.168. See, 168.168.0. That means you will calculate 255 multiplied by 255. So 255 multiplied by 255 is what? 65,025. Now, when to select this? I'll tell you. If you start a company Akib Bhai, and if you have a 20,000 employees, which IP you are going to select? Which IP range? Arshad Bhai?
I can use class A.
No. Why you
Basically,
will use class A?
class 192.168.
Yeah, because you don't require that much of IP. If you have 2
Hmm.
crores people working in your organization, then go with a class A.
Hmm.
If you have 5 lakhs people working in the organization, then we go with a class B. Okay. This is the basic understanding.
Okay.
Okay. Now let us quickly start. So in network, no network, we have two things. One is a network and one is a subnet. Okay. Subnet is what? You are breaking a network. Subnet. Getting me?
Yes, Hussein bhai.
Okay. So here you select the IP range. This is the IP range you select. I'm just giving you the example. Okay. Then you select the subnet. Okay. Then you allow the port. Now let us go back to the virtual machine. Where is virtual machine? Huh? Okay. So here subnet. We are creating a sub. Okay. We will go with a default right now. Okay. We're not going to add anything. Now public IP address is none. No, but we would require a public IP address. We want a public IP address. Why? Because we will not be able to access the machines, right? We want to take the RDP, right? This one. So we will require a public IP address. So we will go with a public IP address. This is okay. Okay. Go with a public IP address. Then we have this one network security group. We have just selected as it is. We are not touching anything. Huh. Delete public IP and NIC when VM is deleted. We select this button. We will load balancing. We will discuss about the load balancer later on. Okay. Then we click on management. Now, how we are going to manage this virtual machine? Okay. So this is a part of a management. So management, we are going to log in using your own. Now, remember we have given the username and password.
Yes.
Okay.
During
Yes,
Here
sir.
we can
creating the
select this.
users.
We can select this Microsoft Entra. So you can use your this thing Akib Sheikh 0202 at the rate outlook.com and that password. If you use select Microsoft Entra. Then auto shutdown. We will do enable auto shutdown. We will give a specific time that during this time that the machine should be turned off. Then enable backup if you want to backup. Then enable disaster recovery. Means if the machine backup is what we take a backup. And if something is wrong, so then we recover from that backup is known as a site recovery or disaster recovery. Okay. Then what is guest OS update? This is something related to the Windows update. This is related to patching. Now we are not going to do anything. Okay, we will keep this as it is. We will go to the other tab, monitoring. Now, how we are going to monitor, which is very important. Let's say if the CPU utilization goes high. Let's say if the disk is 127 GB and now the disk is at 125 GB, only 2 GB is remaining. Okay, the machine will crash. So we have something which is known as monitoring, Azure Monitor. It will tell you, okay, you define the threshold that this is when you should get the notification, and accordingly you can add your email as a DL and you can get it notified over your email. That can be integrated to a ticketing tool further, so you receive tickets on that. So right now we are not going to enable the monitoring. Then we click on advanced tab. Now advanced tab is what? We are going to cover this, by the way, okay, in details. Extension. you install some extension which is going to run. Okay. So what do you mean by extension? Okay, why we are selecting this in extension? Sometime what happens, no? I'm giving you an example. Okay. Sometime what happens, you create a machine and then after that you install anything in the machine, right? I'm giving you an example. If you want to install a VS code or if you want to install any application, what do? You first buy a laptop. I mean to say you create a virtual machine. Okay. And then you download or then you buy that CD or else, you buy that, you get that application file if it is company's file and then you install. But here extension means it is going to get installed when the machine is created. Simultaneously, along with the machine creation, it will also install the software. So you don't have to install it after the virtual machine is created. Okay. So we also have a VM application. Which application you wanted to select? Okay. So there are some scripts that we are going to discover. Now this is enable user data. Okay. Then we have host groups. Then we have dedicated host. Remember I told you about dedicated host? Entire physical server is reserved to
Yes.
you. Okay. So this is host, a dedicated host. Okay. And then we have capacity reservations. So we are not then we have proximately placement group. We are going to discuss it later, but just understand. Then we have tags. Tagging is very important. Now I'm just giving you a tag. Environment. I click on environment and I give a value. What? Oh, this is a production, right? I give production. This is a tag. You created the machine, but you create a general tag. Okay. You create a tag and you just include all the machines, okay, under this tag, or while creating a machine you can enforce a tag. Why this is important? Let's say that if you get a bill of $3,000, you should know how much your production server is costing. You go to the tags, you go to subscription, you go to billing, and you select the tag production environment production. So it will tell you how many machines are there in production and how much is the price for that. Okay. And then you have review and create. Now it is going to validate. You see that this button is grayed out. That means it is going to validate in backend that everything is okay or not. Okay. One more thing. It is going to give you this price also. Okay. How much is the price? So right now the button is still grayed out. I'm going to wait. There are two ways to check the price. You can use Azure pricing calculator also. Okay. Any questions till now?
No.
Okay, I'm going to create this machine now. It is going to take some time to create a machine.
So Hussein meanwhile can we create multiple VMs like the group which we created in intra? Bulk.
Yeah, we
Do you
can
have
create.
any option?
We can
Okay.
create, but that is an automation. So I'll come to that. Okay. We can
Okay.
use PowerShell, we can use ARM templates, we can use Bicep, and we are going to do these practicals. Okay. Now, this is the virtual machine which is now creating. See, deployment in progress. What is happening in background? Whatever the information that we have given, so that is going to go to the Microsoft Hyper-V. It is going to check that this is what the selections are, and then accordingly it is going to build the resource. Tell me if you want one more session, or should we stop after this? Let me know.